So quantitative data analysis is very important in a lot of ways, but I have just mentioned here three aspects. That it is used to measure differences between groups. So dito natin may encounter yung significant differences between one group over the other. And this quantitative data analysis will give us a sound basis, a solid basis in saying that this one group is significantly different than the other. Secondly, it is used to evaluate relationships between variables. So dito na po papasok yung correlation and linear relationships, so to speak, dun sa data natin. Let's say, for example, ano ba yung relationship between increasing temperatures, weather temperatures, to the sales of ice cream, for example. So it is used to evaluate a relationship between two variables. And thirdly, it is used to test a hypothesis in a systematic way. So ito na po yung highest order of quantitative analysis that it equips us with the ability to test if our hypothesis is true or false. Okay. So I hope everything is still clear at this point. So wala naman ako nakikitang questions. But if you have any questions along the way, you can post them in the chat box here and also in YouTube. Okay. And by the way, ito pong mga points na dinidiscuss ko, because we're now talking about essential skills, but I have chosen to dive into the fundamentals of quantitative data analysis, because I want to set the level na equal po para sa lahat, so that we're on the same page when we're talking about certain terminologies about data analysis. Kasi this is very statistics heavy, and sometimes medyo intimidating siya. So it's intimidating for me already, but I try to set the tone para po equal playing field tayo lahat. Okay. So as I've said, the foundation of quantitative data analysis is statistics. And when we're talking about statistics, there are two main branches. There is descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So I will describe this one by one. But before that, I would just like to define two important terms in statistics: sample and population. So when we're speaking about population, it is the entire collection of the data that we are investigating. For example, kung ang research natin is about all the grade 10 students in the Philippines, then your population is all the grade 10 students in the entire Philippines at that certain point in time. So that's the population. While your sample is just, bakit naka? Yeah. While the sample is just a fraction of that entire population. So it's a tiny portion of, let's say, the grade 10 students in the Philippines. So if we one analogy here is like if the whole cake is the population, then the sample is just a slice of that cake. So, ayun po. So we have to understand this because descriptive statistics, so there are levels in terms of applicability. So descriptive statistics normally describe the characteristics of just the sample. Okay, so it gives you the different attributes of just a specific handful of data set. While inferential statistics makes inferences or predictions. Hindi naman ako nagtataas ng kamay. Yeah. Yung multo na yata ako dito. So, yung inferential statistics naman po makes predictions and inferences, so it involves itself with the entire population. So it makes assertions about the entire population and not just the sample. Okay, so let me just define these terms. So descriptive statistics, as I've said, is describing the sample data set without making inferences about the entire population. So dito na po papasok yung mga natutunan natin sa stat, like terms like the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and skewness. So mean is just the mathematical average of the data set. So it's just the average, no big deal. Median is the midpoint value when the numbers are arranged in order. So let's say highest to lowest, lowest to highest. The midpoint or the center value is the median. Mode is the most frequently occurring value or number in the data set. Standard deviation gives you an estimate of the closeness of the numbers to the mean or average. So very familiar din po tayo dyan. And the skewness describes the symmetry of distribution of values. So binibigay po nung skewness yung actual shape ng data natin, if it's normally distributed or it's leaning towards the left or right, or if it's positively skewed or negatively skewed. Okay, so let me just give you an example here. Let's say, for example, we have a sample data of 10 students, of the test scores of 10 students. So the mean is, let's say, 82, 82.1, and then the median is 84 based on this values, and the standard deviation is 9. So medyo malaki yung spread ng values around the mean, and the skewness is a little bit negative. So that means that our data has a negative skew. So makikita po natin yan dahil yung median is slightly higher than the mean. So yung skew niya is negative. Okay, and when we're judging about the skew, ito po yung yung tail ng data. So nasa left siya. Okay? So makikita po natin na yung difference between the mean and the median, in this case, di naman po siya ganun kalayo. So our data, our sample data, is somehow close to the normal distribution, although it has a slight skew, negative skew in this case. Okay, so let us now go to the inferential statistics. So the aim of inferential statistic is to make inferences about the population. And there are two types of inferences. One is it establishes the differences between the groups. Let's say, for example, the control group and the treatment group. So yung group na naka-receive ng treatments or manipulation. And inferential statistics also describes the relationships between variables, or cause and effect between those variables. And inferential statistic has such power that it is used for hypothesis testing. So when we are trying to test a hypothesis, it will normally require inferential statistics to test significant differences or causality between our variables.
Okay. Siguro, JP,
just check if there's questions.
Yeah, there's a few questions. I think
okay.
Let's try to answer these questions.
Okay.
Siguro I think I read Evelyn Moros's question. So siguro dito i-clarify lang natin, JP, yung what they call this term na population when it comes to test statistics.
Okay, so ito yung tinatanong niya is turbidity of the water. So let's say your test your population would be a certain dam or a lake.
Yes.
So yun yung population mo, yung buong dam or yung buong lake. And then yung sample mo is the water samples that you get from that lake. Okay?
So, so bali yung konsepto na to, JP, siguro parang yung analogy mo, which I like, is since yung aaralin mo yung population is yung buong lake, hindi natin pwedeng i-test yung buong lake or yung buong
lake.
Okay. So kaya yung sample natin, babawas tayo. Bumabawas tayo.
Yeah.
Yun po yung magre-represent nung buong population, which is the dam or the lake.
Yeah. No. And you said the operative term. It's representative.
Yes.
So when we're doing sampling, so kukuha tayo ng samples, it must be representative of the entire population.
Yes.
Otherwise, hindi tayo pwedeng maggawa ng inferences or conclusions about the population if we don't have a representative sample. Let's say, kumuha ka lang ng sample dun sa gilid nung lake. So it's not representative. So dapat kukuha ka at each point, and those points should be random.
Ayan. Okay.
Yeah. So ang dami na, pumapasok na yung
Yes. So bali yung term po na population is actually not referring po to human population or whatsoever. But essentially, kung isipin nyo po, halimbawa, mag-aaral kayo ng paano ba yung growth ng kawayan sa isang forest.
Yes.
Kung meron kayong isang kumpol ng kawayan doon or ng bamboo, hindi niyo po pwedeng i-test lahat ng kawayan doon or ng bamboo. So yung population niyo po, lahat ng kawayan na tumutubo doon. Pero yung aaralin niyo lang po is yung sample. Ibig sabihin, yung kukunin niyo na kawayan na magre-represent ng properties
entire collection.
Lahat ng kawayan doon.
Yeah.
Yun po yung
so ang term lang po is population. It's not human population, but the entire collection of the subject.
Yes. And from the context of research, siguro rin kung ididikit po natin doon sa konsepto ng resources, bakit ba tayo kumukuha ng sample? So kumukuha lang din po kasi tayo ng samples kasi limited din po yung resources natin. Hindi lang po yung hindi natin pwedeng po. Actually, pwede nyo naman pong i-test yung lahat. Kung meron po kayong sapat na oras at kung meron kayong sapat na material. So pero po, for example, for water sampling, hindi nyo po pwedeng i-test yung buong dagat.
Mhm.
Yeah, parang
Yes.
analogy yun, ano?
Yeah.
May mga imposible po tayong mga
Mhm.
pwedeng gawin. Ayan. Alright. Sige, JP,
Ayan,
basahin mo
ito
yung
meron
nag-confirm.
may tanong about qualitative versus quantitative. So
Yes.
what we are discussing today is quantitative kasi yun po yung
Pero JP,
most or common
sagutin natin yung question dito na ang tanong
about.
ay, kailangan daw ba ng hypothesis? Ang hypothesis daw ba ay kailangan lang sa quantitative research?
Of course not.
Yeah, kailangan
Yeah.
natin kunin po ito. Kahit
Mhm.
po quantitative or qualitative, kailangan nyo pa rin po ng hypothesis. Di ba? Yung
Mhm.
operative term o definition ng hypothesis is it's an educated guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So kahit ano pong research ang gawin nyo, whether it be qualitative, meron po kayong research questions na sasagutin nyo. And bago
Mhm.
po kayo mag-start ng research, dapat po, meron rin po kayong educated guess. Ano ba yung potential explanation dun sa answer nyo? Kasi kung wala po kayong hypothesis, hindi po kayo makakapag-design talaga ng experiment to
Mhm.
probe that question.
Yeah. Only in
Maaari,
that case,
yes,
yeah,
maaari po
yung
yung term ay iba, assumption po siguro ang tawag sa qualitative research, but then in essence po, lahat po ng klase ng research kailangan ng hypothesis.
hypothesis. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just so happened that what we are discussing now are numerical data.
Yeah.
So as opposed to qualitative. Okay.
Meron pa tanong, JP.
Ano,
Ano
tita?
daw, kung meron daw bang standard percentage ng sample for research?
Ayun.
Ayan, good
May
question.
formula daw ba?
Ang rule of thumb po, when you're taking samples, to mimic the normal distribution, the minimum number is 30 samples. Kasi nakapaloob po yan dun sa tinatawag na central limit theorem. So the minimum number of samples that you need in order to infer about the population is 30 samples. Yun po yung minimum.
Ayan.
Yeah. So gusto ko din po yun na nag-chip in din yung mga teachers about the question. So thank you very much po for participating. Okay. So allow me to continue. So I hope we're clear about the descriptive inferential statistics. But you can always post your questions if anything is not clear. Okay. So ito, na-touch na natin to yung importance of sampling in inferential statistics because as I've said, inferential statistics makes inferences or predictions about the entire population. Our samples must be representative of that population. Okay? Or the composition must be the same as the population under study. If you're, let's say, when your population is the entire population of grade 10 students, and the theoretical composition of that is 50 male students, let's say for example 50 male students and 50 female students, then your sample should also be 50-50, not 80-20 or 40-60. Yeah. So dapat pareho ang composition, it's representative. Okay. So what are the statistics used for inferential statistics? So ito po yung most common. So this is not hindi po ito lahat obviously, but these are the common ones. We have the t-tests. When we want to compare the means or the averages of two groups of data. So dalawa lang yung kino-compare natin to test if they are significantly different. And most commonly, ito yung control group versus the group with treatment. Okay? So t-test lang po yan. Dalawa lang yung kino-compare natin. While on the other hand, ANOVA or the analysis of variance compares the means among multiple groups, 3 or more, no? So pareho lang siya ng t-test, it compares the means, but it is applicable for 3 or more multiple groups. Okay, and then another tool in inferential statistics is correlation analysis. So this one evaluates the relationship between two variables. So tinitingnan yung correlation. Dun nga sa analogy ko earlier, nagko-correlate ba yung pagtaas ng temperature, let's say yung init ng weather natin sa sales ng ice cream. So how well are they correlated? Or sale ng halo-halo, ganyan. So how well they are correlated. So wala ka pang, at this point, wala ka pang ini-infer or pinipredict na cause and effect, which is described by the regression analysis. Okay? So regression analysis on the in contrast to correlation analysis assesses the relationship between two variables and determines the cause and effect between them. So kapag ba uminit yung panahon, tataas yung sales ng ice cream. So does one variable affect the behavior of another variable? So dun nakapaloob yung regression analysis. It describes causality or cause and effect between two variables.